Here, see, here's my mic, but that should be getting me more feedback now. Well, actually, let me try. There's desktop audio. Let's try that.
The moment that you unmuted your mic, Neil, it started coming through.
That was great, Dan.
I think we'll need a mic check from Brent.
Okay. Testing 1 2 3. Mic check. Mic check. Testing 1 2 3. Canadians with Disabilities and their allies. How is everyone? Testing 1 2 3. Please stand by. Technical difficulties while we resolve. Yeah. Oh. Oh. But does it hear me though on there?
Oh, you guys are good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning back in. Here's Brent.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to formally announce our new platform, and we're broadcasting onto YouTube. And this is our official launch on our new platform. And I'm actually really excited to announce our guest, our first guest of 2023, and that is Dan. Hi, Dan. Good evening, and thanks for joining me this evening.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks. And as I was saying earlier, it's great to be here. It's been a fantastic year with you guys, getting to know a lot of the people in the group and such. I'm always, some of you might know, I work for Toronto City Council. I'm an administrative assistant part-time, as well as sit on the board of directors for something here in Toronto, Ontario, called the Inner City Family Health Team. That's where we help people precariously housed who are homeless, and such in the downtown core. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here because what you guys are doing with the lived experience portion of it, I'm really looking forward to see how various, MLAs, MPPs, MPs react to it, because it's going to be individual stories, right? And that's what we need as a collective. Other than that, yeah, I'm just ready to go back to work tomorrow. Happy to be here with you guys tonight. So any questions you have, anything you want to talk about, here we go.
It's fantastic, Dan, and it's such a great pleasure having you on the new platform. And we've had so many great discussions previously on previous shows. And I mean, one quick question that I have just to start off here is, I mean, I know that you have your own YouTube channel, and I really encourage everyone to check out Dan's YouTube channel, because it's full of information. Wow, I mean, I loved your train travels there, Dan. I mean, those are fantastic, and the journey that you take us through, and it really brings a light to everyday adventures of what you go through and what you see. And it's so great to have that experience of watching your journey. And speaking of journey, what I want to find out too is, like, what do you think of our new format here? The way that we've now developed our format going forward here. Yeah, besides the glitches, yeah, those are technical glitches. Those are boobly bits.
Those are Boobly bits. And to start off, Mr. Boobly, if you do happen to catch this tonight, man, come on board. We just need you for like a little campaign. It's all in fun, and it'll probably end up going somewhere to children. Yeah, this new format, I'm perfectly okay with it. I'm to the understanding, and I think we all know that not everybody likes to be on camera. A lot of people have various, anxiety attacks or other issues that are going on. But anyways, I'm glad that I can share like that. And I'm not just blowing smoke for you guys, but I'm really actually looking forward to the weeks and months ahead. because that's how I do my job. I'm not sitting here to claim to know everything. Sure, I was homeless, as some of you know, for a period of time in my life, the better part of 2 decades. But things have changed, right? Just like the TTC, just like, it makes me real sick for you guys out there in BC about your rent cap that hasn't changed in 175 years. But I mean, I think with this channel here, we're going to be able to properly get forth, like I said, different ideas, but it's not just that, it's the lived experience, because far too often the lived experience is delegated to our smaller groups. And yeah, so going into tonight, I can give a couple tips later on and divulge into other areas of that too. But yeah, I think it's going to work and be successful.
Okay, just we'll stop you there just for a second, Dan, because we do have some problems with the audio for some reason. Like I said, we did check it all, and I just want to make sure that I'm audible to the audience. I did put my mic active now, so can we get a thumbs up if people can hear my audio coming through?
Yes, Neil, you are coming through.
Okay.
I did just check it.
Okay, yeah, because for some reason the audio has all changed from the settings it was before, so I don't know why, but okay, so you carry on with the conversation.
Yeah, you know, it's that's definitely one of the growing pains of going forward, right? And I totally echo what you're saying on that, Dan. I'm really excited with this new platform going forward, and it's a new adventure for sure. And having you on and talking about your life, and that's kind of where I want to take the conversation now. Is could you tell us about your life of how you grew up in Toronto, right? And so how was it when you grew up? What do you see then than what you see now in the community that you've grown up in, the changes that you've seen over the time? And just a little bit, just a little bit about your life experience and what you've gone through, and how you became involved in the city council.
Yeah, it's actually, life has been a weird thing for me. It's,
yeah.
I'm 45 now, so my parents actually split when I was really young, about a year old. I started off my life at a couple months old with spinal meningitis. It's over the years, as I say, I identify as a Canadian with disability and an ally. Ironically, right now where I live is actually the place my family started living, when my parents split. So I have, and it just so happens to be what's known as the Little Jamaica area of Toronto. I was born at whatever that hospital is, at Bathurst and Dundas Street. I think it's Toronto Western. And I've lived here for most of my life, with the exception of a period of a month or two here or there. This particular area, it's starting to grow. It just so happens to be in an area that has been pretty much left neglected over the decades. We just had an establishment, I believe, that was around for approximately 50 years, just have to close down. And it happens to be smack dab in the middle of, I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it's what's known as the Eglinton Crosstown, which is the biggest transit project in Toronto right now. They said it was supposed to be done last year. It was supposed to be done this year. Now they're talking about lawsuits and this and that. So God only knows. The area itself and the people is mainly family oriented. And at a very young age, my mother was actually a 32-year member of the Toronto Police Service as a civilian member. So growing up, even though I had some struggles, that was one of the Cadillacs that drove me towards wanting a life in the public. And it's genuinely to help. It's based upon all of my lived experience with regards to being in shelters, a period of my life when I was younger that I may have visited some provincial vacation spots. And it's taught me along the way that, right now in life, I just want to help. It's how can I explain it? It's you know how usually people do things and they want to better themselves, within politics. They want to start at the city, go to the province, go to the feds. I don't want to do that, man. I live in Toronto. I'm not moving from Toronto. Yeah. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And again, not blowing smoke to you guys, but I'm thoroughly encouraged. I had a rough patch about 2 years ago there. I actually walked away from Toronto City Council, and again, just by circumstance and just by being in the right place at the right time, I built that rapport back up in the relationships, and I'm hoping to spread that out to everybody I'm trying to help every day.
That's totally awesome, Dan. That wanting to give back to the community in your way, that and that works so well. I mean, of the lived experience that you have and that you want to give back, and that really shows a lot. And that's what I find, like having so many different guests on from previous and going forward, and hearing about lived experience, and that's what it's about, because hearing what people go through in their life, because somebody could just look at them and say, oh yeah, you know, that's, yeah, they know the whole the aspect about the person. Well, no, like they don't know the person until they talk to the person and really get that feel of who that person really is, and get to the core of how can we help in society going forward. How can we make that change and network with people and come together collaboratively and or collectively, and as a group, as society, and make that change in a very constructive way. And it's such a pleasure having you on and talking about these important things. And I hope that so many more people will come forward too and talk about these things, because it's so important.
Well, I really hope they do, because like, for example, here, and I know you guys do great work out in BC too. I mean, there's you, there's Sonia, there's Neil, there's all the various people that have joined us in the groups, and across the country, right? Winnipeg, Calgary, and so as it pertains to here, particularly in Toronto, we have so many great advocates. The issue is that a lot of issues, especially social issues, have been left to the wayside for too long. And we just haven't been able, up until a little while ago, to come up with a collaborative way to do things, right? There's great advocates in the city, great groups in the city that help in various aspects. I think it just comes to a thing where we all just got to share, and most importantly, like, listen, right? Because if you're not listening and you're not sharing and you're not helping, what are you doing? If you're just yelling into the space and yelling into the air, like we can all do, right? Yeah. It's not going to accomplish anything, right? And I've even had to teach myself that lately. As some of you know, I might have a little bit of a potty mouth, but it's always not at people, it's with people. It's with the frustration, the anger, but now I've learned that, hey man, if you want to help, you got to chill your stuff down. You got to calm down, listen to people, and just share.
Well, I always tell everybody that, I mean, everybody's got a different style, right? And the thing that bothers me all the time is you have some advocates out there that say, like, if you're not advocating in this one particular way, you're not advocating, and that just really bugs me. It's like, let's like laser focus, like the being an advocate, like to a minute degree, and if you're not talking about the CRPD or whatever it is, or if you're not talking about food banks, or if you're not talking whatever it is, right, then they'll say, "Oh, you're not an advocate then, like, get off the stage," kind of thing. And that really bothers me, because there's so many different layers of advocacy, and there's so many different areas of advocacy, and to just be laser focused on one thing is it just bugs me, right? It just really, really bugs me.
There's so many different approaches to on advocacy. Like, there's different opinions, right? Like, we can all, like, there's different things that we can agree on, different things that we don't agree on, right? But what's that saying? We can agree to disagree, or vice versa, right? And when somebody has an opinion on advocacy, it's like, fine, they can have their opinion, and then they leave it at that. You know what I mean? But I found too is that sometimes they would get into a big debates, and then nothing really gets done then, right? It's just kind of just goes right off the rails, right? And that kind of goes with different advocacy groups, right? They'll start attacking each other in certain ways, and then they say, well, why are we not accomplishing things? Well, because they have to collaboratively work together for a common purpose.
Yeah, I always use the metaphor of like we're all pushing the same rock up the hill, and we're all pulling on the same rope. We all want the same thing. So why are we fighting about it? We shouldn't be fighting about it if we all want to make our lives better. Like, just stop fighting about every little thing and say, you know what, you're doing the right you're doing a good advocacy job, and Dan's doing a good job, Brent's doing a good job, and all these other people, and you don't have to be like so opinionated about, well, this person sucks because they're not doing this or whatever, right? I don't know.
I'm like David Goliath.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and that's
the castle. You know what I mean? But no, I mean it's about equality, right? Too, and autonomy. Autonomy it's huge, because people should have their rights, their human rights of a dignified life. And when they don't have that dignified life, then what do we have? What do we have then? And having advocates and people who take that initiative of really showing that they really care about a certain topic and really hammer it home, and then have people echo that and support their ideas and their thoughts and work together. I think that's so important, Dan. It's your lived experience. I mean, and what you're bringing to City Council to put what you can do to try to make that change. And it's so awesome.
Well, I'm not one to brag, right? But I mean, this is my second time in 5 years that they've hired me, right? So if I was doing something wrong, I even though sometimes we disagree with politicians, most of the time, even though we go down that road sometimes, if I wasn't doing what it was expected of me, there's no way in hell I would be hired 2 times. So I'll give you a quick example, right? And I hope I'm not going to start up a firestorm on this, but for example, the TTC lately here in Toronto, right? So I'll make the long story short. I'm a TTC rider every day. I travel on it like 2 hours a day is my travel, right? I'm not a big guy. Yeah, I trust me. I'm begging to work downtown because it's only 10 minutes away, right? But please, Paul. I was talking to a gentleman, and I'll use that term loosely because he called me a few names, but that's part of the game. But I was talking to a gentleman today, and all I did was strictly say, listen, what I put out a little survey, it got like 11 votes, whatever, right? But all I said was, like, how do we fix the violence immediately right now? Not how do we blame it on such and such a group, not how do we yell at John Tory or Doug Ford, but how do we fix the violence immediately now? Because I got no problem standing up for myself. If I got to throw a punch, I'll throw a punch. It's that simple. But it shouldn't have to come to that point, especially the 31-year-old young lady a little while ago that was probably just sitting there listening to her headphones or something. I wasn't on the train, so what do we do about that, right? This person went off into a 3-hour tangent about how I was an a-hole. I don't know anything about homelessness, even though I was homeless 20 years. I don't know anything about the city, even though I work for the city. I'm just a loser that doesn't want to support homeless people. That's, the word I want to use, but that's BS, right? I want to help everybody. And just because we're not all talking about the same things at once, it doesn't mean we can't finish one project, move on, finish, move on, finish, move. That's the way we got to do, because all these people that are saying things like they said like that, for example, to me today, what's gotten fixed over the past few decades? So we got to do something, right? And they're right. No matter if it's about us with Canadians with disabilities and all of our allies, whether it's housing, God dang, whether it's parking tickets, it doesn't matter, right? You got to do something. You can't just bring it up and then start yelling because the narrative is not the narrative you want to carry. And that's what I choose to focus on this year.
And bringing the awareness to the inequalities of what the issue is, and actually working to correct the problem, recognize what the problem is, and all advocates to come together and focus on what the problem is in kind of figuring out a goal, right? And how do you reach those goals with steps to get to that goal? And I've learned a lot over last year, of different approaches from other advocates and different ideas, and that's kind of where we're at now. We're now using a different platform, and using technology to its fullest. And this is so exciting. Yeah.
I'm really again, I'm not just blowing smoke up your keister, but I'm really looking forward to all the other conversations, right? Because for example, you guys know, and some of you know, like my expertise is within Toronto and Ontario. Like I can do anything ad lib in Toronto and Ontario that you need. I'm a little sketchy on the federal stuff, so that's why I've been following you guys, and I've learned a hell of a lot about this stupid. I shouldn't call it stupid because it's not stupid. We need it. But the CDB thing, man, I've said to everybody all along that it's going to be something of an election issue. And we've fought and we've torn and we've clawed. And then what do we get? We got this, like just a white piece of paper. Blank, right? So
empty,
we got to, like you just said, we got to work together and to make perfectly clear to people that it's not an I thing. It's not a me thing, right? I'm not going to sit here and go, let's work together. But we gotta do simultaneously working together, because just imagine, just put yourself in their position for a second, right? So let's say you were Doug Ford, and you were sitting there, right? And you had 40,000 people yelling at you different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to listen?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that's the case, right? There's there's the CDB, there's DERB, and there's all these other ones, and it's from what I'm hearing, it's going to take a long time. I mean, and it's just unacceptable on how they can say, well, we want people to contribute back into society. Okay, well, fix the problem. They know the solution. And I'm not going to mention any previous guests I've had on, which I will have on in the future, but she gets it. There's a book, Dan, and the book says exactly what they're going to do. But we need to now open that book up and actually get it. Yeah. And
this is a little bit off topic, but it's kind of this, kind of the same thing. Like, you were saying, Dan, about like who's going to listen to a bunch of bitching and complaining, right? And that's part of the reason why, I've kind of diversified the channel to have a lot of humor into it, right? And, is because you want to attract people with honey a little bit, right? Like one of the things I'm so proud about the channel is the Breaking with Brent segments. They're so funny. There's so much humor in those, and
I love them.
And I think there's not enough people that are watching them, right? And there's about 12 or 14 of those now, and they're really great.
Yep.
And so not only are they funny, though, they prove a really strong advocacy message too, and and that's the way you're going to win people over. You're not going to win people over by bitching and complaining. You're going to see all those Breaking with Brents are kind of like a slice of life. We talk about lived experience, right? We're highlighting lived experience, and even when I do those crazy food reviews with my son and we do gaming sessions and stuff, that's slice of life stuff too, right? I mean, I'm just putting my life out there and showing that I'm just a regular dude with a son, and it's like slice of life lived experience, and that's what your Breaking with Brent stuff is too. It's lived experience, slice of life stuff, and people need to see that. They don't need to see always like bitching and complaining. They need to see like a balanced view of everything, like the whole 100% like well-rounded life of a person with a disability, right? Yours lying in
it's something that's brought through in Dan's videos as well, right? When he shares parts of the city of Toronto when you're out and about, Dan.
Well, see, I actually, to be honest with you, I'm going to be straight with you. I actually started doing those training things. And if you notice, I never try not to put people on there, right? Because that's a privacy thing and they deserve that. Mm-hmm. But it was actually out of, thoughts maybe that like, hey, man, maybe I got to videotape myself for the last time. Because like I said, I'll be honest with you, right? I'm only 5'10", maybe 200 pounds, right? I could defend myself if I had to, but I shouldn't have to, right? Mm-hmm. And it just so happened to be within that timeline. And to everybody out there, I just want to point out two things. One, I'm not the first one to swear on this show, so haha. And two, if you do watch the videos, yeah, sure, I use colorful language. And yeah, sure, sometimes I go a bit over the edge, right? But it's because of two reasons. One, this is what I've lived through, and so it's my passion now. But number two, over the years, I've been able to build those relationships, whether it be with advocates, people on the streets, people I work with on the board, or people I work with even at City Hall. And even though people don't want to hear that stuff, it's not. Do you think it's I don't know, Councillor Ainsley or Councillor Cole here in my area that's making the decisions? No, it's the people that are working behind the scenes. Long story short, the way City, and I want you guys to check out TTC Riders tonight. And also, there was an individual, I'll get your name later. But what they were doing today is what I've been telling you guys for about the past 6 months. And when it comes to municipal politics and the things that affect us people with disabilities, such as housing or OW, what have, give a deputation at your local city council or MLA like Brent does all the time, like Sonia does, like Neil has, like Jeff has, and everybody else that has. And do that. Like this lady on TTC Riders put out the dates of all the upcoming meetings this week. And that's what people do, because you know what happens? You go to committee. This is for the people in Toronto. I'm sure it might work similar, but you go to committee, people speak. You get 3 to 5 minutes to speak, depending on the amount of speakers. Then the councillors that make up that committee are the ones that put forward motions to be approved at council. So if you don't go speak, guess what they're putting through? Whatever they want. So that's what I would contribute to say, like, hey, yeah, go do that, because my life was just it was something off the walls. I mean, if you want to get to it in a bit, we can. But I mean, I have a total of a grade 8 graduation. I have 3 credits in high school, so I basically have no high school. I'm self-taught on politics. Nobody taught me. When I was homeless, one of the places I used to go to keep warm was City Hall. And somehow, through all the 6 packs of beers, I didn't drink those days inside City Hall. But I retained some of that knowledge, right? Say that again?
Too late. The cat's under the bag.
Yeah.
I don't care. I already got a pink card. They can't fire me for what I did 20 years ago.
No.
Yeah, and with respect, I would, all joking aside, I would tell people, like, behave yourself when you're there too, right? Because it's the same thing. If you just stand up and yell, sometimes there's protests, and protests are needed. Okay, I'm all for a good protest. But if it's to circle around, like, say, the mayor's office and have a sing-song and tell everybody, like, and then just walk away, like, what's going to happen? Nothing. So do your way. Find one issue. Start at the beginning. Start low. Find one issue. Work on one issue. I don't care if it's saving rabbits from getting hit by cars, like, whatever, right? Find one issue and work on it. My issues happen to be what I've lived through, and that's homelessness, housing, and also contributing back to the society, like, part of my job, as I don't know if I mentioned in this go-around or not, but part of my job is also to go directly to the residents. So all these residents that say politicians only come around at election time, I know that that's 90% truth, right? But in this particular scenario where I work out in Scarborough, that's not the truth. We're out there twice a week to various addresses. I think it's over 250 addresses that I take care of. So anybody that would like to say I don't know what I'm doing or I shouldn't be, like, if you want to talk about it, I love discussion. I just don't like, I get calls at work every day, right? Well, what do you know? You're just a government worker answering the, well, I don't know, because I used to live in your building. Like, what do you mean? So it's just, everybody just take, I wouldn't say take baby steps, but take a long look. Take 10 minutes tonight, for example, and just look at your wall. And just say, wait, what do I want to do with my life? My connection to this group and what they want to accomplish and how I want to contribute. What do I want to do with my life? And then boom, because I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody what to do, what not to do, because I've done and not done everything in the world, right? So it's just finding that niche, finding what you're good at, and just go with it full force, like you guys are doing here with this channel.
Oh, totally. That's awesome, Dan. And I mean, around here, I could count how many deer keep walking up and down through our lawn trying to cross the road and went right in front of a bus. You watch the bus driver stop the bus and he's like, hey, come on. That could be, someone's passion. But as a metaphor, that's like a Breaking with Brent segment. Who knows? Maybe I might do that, right? But, those are the comical things. Those are like life experiences, like things that I come across, and then I turn them into a comedy thing. But they're serious things. Like exactly what Neil mentioned about going through a grocery store, looking at comparing like food banks, saying, well, yeah, like this is something that a person should be able to buy, but they can't afford that. Well, why? So now you look at the inequalities. Yeah, I've read a couple of things. Hey, the manager's like, hey, what are you doing here? But then I get their permission saying, hey, like I'm recording. Is it okay? Yeah, no, it's all good as long as you don't get any of us in the footage, unless they want to be in it. And I be very careful on that, right? Because some people do not want to be filmed. So that's a lived experience also for me when I do the footage, but I make it comical. Because I try to bring the situation to to top of hand, right? I mean, step in a a big giant puddle. Whoa! I love that.
I call them your Rick Mercer style segments.
I looked at the one aspect of a big giant snow pile, and I'm thinking, okay, like why is the city not removing all the snow? And right away, to me, I thought was an accessibility issue, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to turn this into a comedy, but at the same time, it is a serious situation. And the bus driver looking at me, he realized what I was doing. Yeah, and he said, yeah, like I saw him again just the other day, and he says, hey, I saw you recording. How did that turn out? I go, well, it turned out the snow melted, where the city didn't have to come by and clean it up, right? He goes, we must do better. And that was the response I got, you guys, was we must do better. And I go, right, but it shouldn't have taken me to do a segment. And apparently, I guess they must have got a hold of that. So that was interesting to hear that part. I thought, oh, so bringing the awareness of the inequalities again, and that's my contribution to the community. And yes, bring it to city council, definitely, Dan. And go to some of the committee meetings and bring it to their attention. And then I encourage, like Dan said, any issues that you have, like take it to your local city, take it to their council. You go and sit in some of the meetings and talk about it. And I mean, and I've said this before, and when I had the Twitter spaces going, I'm not an expertise on every single topic. No, I'm here as a listener to learn from everybody, learn from my guests, learn from the participants, and collectively come together as a group, and we can all do our part in one way or another in society. I mean, it was brought to my attention many times. Oh, Brent, you must be the king of the castle. I go, no, I'm not the king of the castle. I'm just me, and I'm learning from other people too, right? So, and I learned from Dan, I learned from you, Neil, I learned from everybody. I learned from Sonia. I mean, she still teaches me things too. She turns me to, hey, Brent, stop rambling.
I'm gonna turn the camera off now.
Yeah, but it's so important, Dan, to hear different things coming from you. Like when it comes to transit too, that's one of my my passions is improved transit service too in communities across the country. What's your view on that? Actually, since I'm on that topic about accessibility.
Well, and I'm not laughing at accessibility. But it brings to mind, because as anybody from Ontario knows, like we were supposed to be fully accessible by 2025. We can't even get friggin' elevators working at the TTC, right? So, I don't know how they're going to accomplish that, right? I mean, I say some mornings I get off at St. George Station, and people here in Toronto would know. That's like one of the Yonge and Bloor, like a transit stop where you go to the other line. And I say it to the guys every day. Why did it just take us 5 minutes to get in here? This thing has been open since Oh, there we go. One swear word. It's been open since 1956,
the bombs,
right? Yeah, it's like 1956. So she's going to hate me for saying this, but my mother was born in 1955, and I know she's watching. Hey, Ma.
Hey, Spike.
Yeah, but it's in all seriousness, right? Like since 1956, the first part of the loop on the train there was built, and you haven't figured it out yet. Like, what do you mean? Pay me $1 million, I'll figure it out for you, and if I can't, I'll pay some people to do it, right? The issue right now in the TTC, okay, we got to be realistic here, right? We all know that Line 1 in the TTC is and again, sorry for floating to the TTC, but really, I got to be honest, I don't know much about your province's transportation. I know that Montreal's got a bunch of different color lines and stuff, but I haven't been as far west as Manitoba, and I haven't been past Quebec going east, right? So with regards to that, I'd be lying to you if I tried to give you an answer. Here in Toronto, it's simply put, everybody knows that there's a few lines. They've numbered them now. Used to be Yonge University line. I don't know. But it's called Line 1, right? And it's the economic engine train, we call it, that goes right into downtown Toronto and right up the loop the other end. And this is where a lot of the issues are happening. You know, it's because, screw it, I don't care. I haven't worried about people hating me by now. It's also the direct line to like where all the shelters are and where all the respite centers are and such. And it's not, I want to make it perfectly clear to anybody that's going to be listening to this, writing into it, sending me a tweet later on tonight, calling me an a-hole. It's not that homeless people are the problem. So when I say yes to special constables, we're hiring another, I think it's 50, 40, whatever it is, special constables. When I say yes to that, it's to control the violence and for the safety of disabled people, of homeless people on that train. Because I do not believe in having police officers or constables removing a homeless person from, say, sleeping or just staying warm. But homeless or not, I don't give a crap. If you're coming at me with like the other night, the guy had a 26er of rum, lighting up a joint and just walking around the train, being aggressive with people. Do I get to knock him out? Or do I got to press that stupid yellow strip and wait the 7 stops and not get a response? So these are the issues we're facing now, right? And somebody said it today, I'm not sure who it was, but it's not a homeless thing. It's not this, that. It's a mental health issues that have been left to go on so long. Who the hell walks up to a 31-year-old at Hyde Park Station, and God rest her soul, sorry to the family, but who walks up to somebody like that and just stabs them for no reason? We had an incident a few months ago that a lady was lit on fire on a bus and she died. Who does that?
That's crazy.
Not homeless people.
Yeah.
People that need some help. People that need some serious help, and it's been let go too long. So as you said plenty of times, work together and such, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, the system, it's a systemic issue for sure, right? And it's just been neglected. I found that in a lot of cities across the country, after doing some research in it, and it's kind of it's like a rhythm across, right? And it's a repetitive situation where it's echoing across saying, oh, well, it's not our jurisdiction. What they used to do once upon a time, Dan, is Greyhound, when they had Greyhound running, so they would ship them from Greyhound. Well, hey, we don't want to deal with it here. It's not our problem. Let's just ship them out to BC. They would ship them out to BC, a one-way ticket, and then drop them off in Vancouver going, okay, you can deal with it. And people are like, well, we'll make it a better way of life for you. Well, they didn't. They stick them in a single room occupancy, and those things are so decrepit that they need to be torn down, some of these things. And when we had a heat wave out here, even the mayor at the time, which the mayor, no offense, to him, it could have been done under his watch, but he even admitted that he could not live in there. He couldn't even go in there. He went there for like not even 5 minutes, and he says, I don't know how people can live in this situation. And it was so hot, like it was like beyond probably over 40 degrees. And then they wonder why people are living on the streets. They interviewed them and they said, why are you on the street? Well, I feel more safe on the street than I do living in my residency. And so there's a problem where I was just watching on the news earlier today, and they were showing.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I was just going to break in and say it's like when they used to do that MLA welfare challenge, right?
Right.
And there was a few MLAs that did it for quite a few years, and now they actually said it's far too dangerous to even try it now. They said you'll starve yourself. Don't even do it.
Doing it.
And I mean, if that's not proof in the pudding right there, it's like, you know,
we got a serious problem then, right? And I mean, they show the deplorable conditions, and I'm just beyond. I was just like, anyway, I won't even say, but yeah, I saw that and I thought, wow, like we really, as a country, we really got to fix these problems, because it's not going to go away. They can build housing, right? And I'm quite a housing advocate for that, but sure, we can build the housing, but are they really making it truly affordable housing? Sure, they can make subsidized housing, and there's market housing. Well, the corporate sector, they're monopolizing all the market housing, right? They're buying them all up. In my view, some people would disagree with me. I think people should be able to live where they want to live in the kind of housing that they want to live in. But the problem is that, and I have nothing against the government, right? And I mean, any government official watching this, look, I have no problem you guys building subsidized housing. I really don't. But people still should be able to live where they want to live, and just do, I don't know, make some kind of arrangements with the corporate landlords. I mean, so people can still stay in the housing that they're in, rather than saying, "Oh, you want housing? Well, okay, go over to subsidized housing." Right? I mean, well, it works for seniors. Seniors can live wherever they want in the kind of housing. They just get a subsidized amount. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not in the expertise where I have the right answer to it, but I know that it can be extended over for seniors into housing. I wanted your view on that. Like, yeah, so say you were a senior and you were told, hey, so we got housing, right? You want to live in this kind of housing, like government housing, or you want to live in the housing that you want, where you grew up, say you grew up for 50 years in that same house, and you want to keep living in that house, or you want to be shipped off to some house because the government says, well, we got this housing here, and that's what we have, or you say, I want to sit in my goddamn house. I'm not moving nowhere.
See, it's kind of difficult for me to react because again, I don't want anybody throwing eggs at your YouTube channel. But I personally, yeah. So for me personally, for example, right, like I live in housing right now. I live in Toronto community housing. I pay what I'm supposed to pay rent. It's 33% of your income. And unless I earn another $3,000, $4,000 a month, my ass is staying right here until the day I die. My apartment is already outfitted with pull bars. My apartment is flat so that one day if I end up in a wheelchair, I don't have to worry about anything because it's all flat right in, no stairs, no nothing, right? Yeah. And get this, I'm 45. It's a seniors building. So I mean,
there, yeah,
gold, right?
How did you scoop that?
Well, yeah.
So here in Toronto, over the past few years, right, a lot of the buildings were run by sub-management companies, and call it what you want. I mean, again, I'm not going to bash council because hi, I love you guys. See you next Thursday on payday. But it was separated, and then they found out, well, hey, that's not working. So recently, I'm not sure on the exact date, last year before, somewhere in there, they actually went back to the old model where they do have it separated now. So I'm already established here. I've been here 3 years. Like I said, if I win the lottery, I'll move. But when council, and especially Mayor Tory, who when he makes his announcements and states affordable housing, that's not for me. That's not for you. That's not for anybody else that's disabled. That's seniors. Anything here in Toronto, it's $2,400 a month. And although I back each and every person and group that states, we have to double ODSP, which is now, I don't know if you guys heard this in Toronto, but now everybody's saying triple. So that threw that work out the window. But do you know any government that's going to give you $3,000 a month? I don't think so, right? So what are we talking about here? Do we got to start talking about a universal rent? Do we got to start talking about breaks for people that will rent to people on ODSP? Like, we got to start talking about something else, because by the time we get to the point, because I would love nothing more than what you said, Brent. Everybody to go live everywhere, anywhere you want. You're a human. That's what you should be able to do, right? Unfortunately, that's not the way it's going to work. But when I ask people for solutions, like, for example, all this TTC stuff today and some disabilities issues I was working on a couple of ramp issues with some businesses and stuff. It's just about focus, because once you lose focus and you start, like I said, for example, just as an example, okay, let's work hard to get double ODSP in DERB. Well, who's talking about DERB now? Who's talking about double? No, it's triple ODSP, and just give us our fucking Canadian disability benefit. And Qualtro, take your white piece of paper back and, do what you got to do with it, right? So working together, making those connections is key, though, because if you don't have those connections, like I said, I got told by a producer the other day. I asked a friend of mine who's a producer. I said, listen, man, how come you guys have never had me on? 3 years, man. 3 years, and you're my friend. And he goes, Dan, I'll be honest with you. It seems like you have an axe to grind. I said, you know what? And I almost just said his name. But I said, you know what? I said, I do have an axe to grind. People are effing dying.
Yep.
And he said, you know what? The next time the topic comes up, you're in.
Perfect.
So speaking up, man.
You know, and that's the thing. I think that the officials have to work with the recipients that are on provincial programs and find the housing that works good for them and work with them and say, okay, so yeah, like you want, like we were mentioning about the housing, right? And yeah, like people should be able to live kind of where they are, but in reality, yeah, like it's a whole systemic issue. But I think that they should just work with each individual person and say, let's work out some kind of solution that's kind of like the middle ground and in the community that they want to be in, etc. And then from there they can kind of iron out things as they go along. I was just reading just a recent stat. They were saying that over 450,000 people are moving to Canada every year, and I'm thinking, holy, like, and so what we're building 15,000 new homes. Is that going to be enough to handle the amount of volume of people coming into the country? We got to look after, and I don't say this in any way against people coming into our country. I welcome them to come into our country. We also need to build enough homes to help the people currently in the country too, and the people that are coming into the country. There's people fleeing violence. I mean, and it, and yeah, it's terrible what's going on in other countries right now. But we need to build Canada as a safe haven for everybody, and everybody are equal citizens in this country. And I think we can, as citizens and as everybody in the country, come together. Let's make Canada a better place for everybody. I know it can be done. I know it can. It's just the willpower, and it's the political will that can do it. And that's, I'm not pointing fingers at any political party. I'm not saying who's better, who's worse. No, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. No, because I think that every party can work together as a nonpartisan, right? It's proven it can be done. We know. I've had previous guests on talking about it.
When it comes to life or death issues, it should always be nonpartisan. You're never going to make everybody happy. And sorry, Bertie, I just saw your hand up. But you're never going to make everybody happy. So when it comes to stuff like disabilities, long-term care homes, seniors and children, things that are life and death, not like Joe Blow wants to cut down his tree down the block. Does your neighbor mind? I'm talking about life and death situations. That should be absolutely... Exactly. You know what I mean? Oh, it hit my car. Okay, sue them, right? Yeah. Can we sue anybody for nobody giving us what we need to live properly, right? Like, I think I'm going to be okay, right? But I got lots of friends that have died, and I got lots of friends that are going down a path that whole, I don't even want to mention that M word, right? But like that whole thing really pisses me off, and it shouldn't have to be that way. Housing is a human right, and food is a human right. Being able to live is a human right. Simple. We're human. What the hell?
Exactly. And yeah, you totally nailed it, Dan. That's exactly, it must have been reading my mind, because I was going to say that. So thank you on that, because we're on the right path. And that's what I mean. There's so many people that are on the right path that they know these things, and they have to either go to their city council and say how they feel, say what they want to see change in their cities that they live in, and put pressure on that angle. And then, if it needs to get escalated up to provincial level, your MPPs, MPs, let them know. But start at the city level. Go to your committees and let them know, because that's ground level, and work your way up. Because otherwise, nothing's going to get done. I mean, there's no promise that it will get done, but at least your efforts will show that you want to see change. I mean, I could rant all evening and talk about how bad transit is here. I'll give you a quick overview. Okay, so I live in the capital of British Columbia, which is Victoria. And now you would think Victoria would have superb transit to go to other communities on the island. And Vancouver Island is a very big place. The population is growing. So you would think that you could go from Victoria over to a community called Cowichan Valley, which is very nice. It goes through a mountainous area. Okay, they do have commuter service, Dan, and it goes from PM hours out of Victoria, takes the people that are commuters once upon a time to Cowichan, drops them off for the evening. Now those same commuters will now leave Cowichan in the morning, back to Victoria, and the last bus that leaves Cowichan in the morning is at 6:25 in the morning, the last bus. But if you want to go to Nanaimo, which is about a 2 hours and 15-minute bus ride from here across island, they call it North Nanaimo. So that's where Sonia's parents live. Okay, so if I want to go out there, I can go and catch that same commuter transit bus on a weekday, Monday to Friday. I won't talk about Saturday yet. So Monday to Friday, I could catch that and take it to Cowichan Valley, which is Duncan. You can get off there and transfer onto a bus service that Nanaimo launched. It's a new bus service. 6 days a week they launched that service throughout the day. I could jump on that same bus and go to Nanaimo, no problem. But coming back, here's the problem. During the weekday, you got to catch the first bus in the morning from Nanaimo at 5:05 in the morning from downtown Nanaimo. It'll take you to Cowichan Valley, Duncan, okay? And you have to catch the last bus that leaves at 6:25 in the morning to get back to Victoria.
That's like the Hotel California, right?
Yeah, it does connect up. It does connect up out of Nanaimo. But here's the problem. There are a lot of people watching this. They'll say, "Okay, this is messed up." The problem is you cannot get down to downtown Nanaimo to catch that first bus out of there to go to Duncan. There's no bus.
So I guess I'm never living in BC.
But hey, here's the kicker. You can go on a Saturday though, from Victoria to the same routing that I just mentioned, all the way to Nanaimo. You can go and grab some lunch at Wendy's. You can go and look around the mall for 40 minutes, but get back on that bus. You can go all the way back to Victoria, only on a Saturday, but weekday, no. So when I talked to the city of Victoria and Cowichan, I had them both on a dual conversation at the same time. You know what they said? Passing the buck back and forth. Oh, it's provincial. Yeah. But meanwhile, they were all given money for their transit to basically improve their transit service throughout the region. Victoria wants to do it, but there is red tape. Okay, so I encourage any politician in British Columbia who's watching this. I did have a previous guest that was one of my guests on my show, and she is very passionate about transit. Please, we need to get this fixed. It's not a commuter service anymore. It's throughout the day. It's regular ridership. City of Victoria has actually proven to me with numbers. They did go over numbers with me on the phone, and they said the ridership is there throughout the day. We can do it. Our local bus line has now ceased operation until May because low ridership. 95% of the ridership dropped off during the pandemic, and they've never got those passengers back. And they're going to be reevaluating it in May, but they said it's only going to be seasonal service, and they're pleading with the provincial government to get service back up. They took over when Greyhound ceased to operate their service. They were given a grant back in March. It expired, and nothing's been done since. So they kept things going, and they just said they can't run a service. So that's my rant about transit. So inequalities, accessibility, it needs to be changed.
We have some questions from the floor now, Brent.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
One of the questions...
Are you ready, Dan?
It depends on who it is.
Yeah, well, one of the questions we had was from Maxwell, and he was wanting to know. Question was for Dan. Dan, how did you come to meet both Brent and myself?
You know what? I think what was it? You guys did January, so that would have been January last. It was through my time that I was taking a little break from city council there. I was off from them from August 2020 until November of this year, 2 months ago, whatever. And I guess I was just cruising through rooms. I can't remember if it was through a friend or not, but probably not. Like, I'm not big, believe it or not, I'm not big on those rooms. I don't really like talking a lot, believe it or not.
But yeah, it was Twitter Space though, right? Was it Twitter Space or something else?
Sorry?
Was it Twitter Space or something else?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Twitter Space.
Yeah.
And it's obvious because, like, you know, my mom and whoever else is on this conversation that knows me, I honestly really don't like talking to a lot of people like live, right? Like, it's always text. So the fact that you guys engaged me like that, especially somebody like me, is like, okay, this is cool. I can learn a couple things here, right? And then we started to branch out and meet people from our own areas too, right? And so it was just, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the way through Twitter Space.
Yeah, I mean, we even have Mark over the pond. I mean, from the UK, he comes on the show quite a bit, and that's how far you know, anyone watching this live, like, that's how far we've branched out.
And from the Netherlands,
from the Netherlands. I mean,
and China.
Yeah, and from China. Yeah, exactly. I've had actually guests from China. That was a doozy. Yeah, I remember that one, Neil. That was a 6:00 a.m. Call that we did that one morning. That was an early one. that was my earliest.
I think the first one I did with you guys, I probably stayed up till like 4 a.m. Eastern, and then you guys started again at 6, and I'm going, what? Dude, come on, stop this, man, stop it, man. But it's obviously it's worked out, right? And you actually did encourage me partially to you guys did to go back doing the work I do, right? Or else I would have just sat here and like whatever, waited my turn, right? You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I had to have the cactus juice here, right? First thing in the morning. you like that mug? Yeah, I mean that's great, eh?
With the eggnog.
Gotta have the eggnog. Eggnog. Just not the oak nog.
And also too, just for like you know, because I can't see the other screens or anything, but I'll see it when I review it later, right? Like if there is any politicians on here, right? And I might have called you a few not so nice names over the past couple of years. You got to understand, it's the frustration, as we all are. We're frustrated, right? We're seeing everybody else pass us by, and it's not like we want a gold toilet like a certain guy down south, right? You know, we just want cost of living, keep us up to inflation, make sure, like, people talking about food banks and stuff like that. So I used food banks before. I haven't used one in a couple of years, I'll be honest with you. But I did use them quite regularly for a good 7-8 years of my life. I mean, people just see a person that works at city council and they think that my mouth is loud and that I think my crap don't stink and stuff. And sometimes that's true, right? But for the most part, I genuinely want to help. Do you think I would have gone back there for all the headaches if I didn't want to help? It's a good job, but it's not like I'm not a millionaire or anything. So I'm not going back for the 15 minutes. I'm not going back for the ritzy things. And as we were saying, to the politicians, any of them that are listening, and even some media that I've talked to over the past week or so, it's not about me. It's about us. It's about this whole thing, right? I've already had my time. I'm good. Right? It's about helping everybody. And that's why I choose. I mean, just the other day, our budget chief was walking down with our mayor and another guy to give that announcement, right? And I was walking the hallway with him. And I said, hey, Gary, nice to see you again, Gary. And he said, yeah, nice to see you, Dan. What are you doing here? And I go, well, I have a pink card. I work here, right? Like, he goes, oh, you back? Ha, ha, ha. And then he went on to do his press conference, right? But it's that quick connection, right? Like, I'm just as an example, I'm not a good buddy of his. Hi, how you doing, sir? He just happens to be the budget chief in our city. Why not make that connection? As opposed to getting on the mic and going, oh my God, and doing all this with your phone and spinning and just make that connection, right? And you never know what can come out of it.
Yeah, that's what I found in life, through different journeys of making the connection, and because you just never know where that opportunity, where it's going to go, and what they're going to talk about, maybe who they know, and they may have the same ideas that you have, or maybe things that you haven't thought about, or what I haven't thought about, and it's so true, Dan. It's so important. Yeah, so is there questions coming in on the live feed? More questions?
One of the questions also was from Maxwell, and he was kind of wondering. He said, like, he's seeing,
just say it, man.
He's saying that the split of videos seems like there's a lot of Canadians with disabilities videos and not very much of the other things. So he's saying, why don't we just call it your channel? But I'm just curious to what your response would be. I know what my response is, but how would you answer that, Brent?
How would I answer that? I would answer that because it's focused on, as me as the host of bringing people together. Neil actually has it on his YouTube channel to basically emphasize it, to bring it out, because he intertwines all this. Like, Neil is the producer of Canadians with Disabilities. So that's why it's actually on his YouTube channel also, because Neil is a very a big contributor to this to how I've launched this, and that's why Neil and I work together with the Canadians with Disabilities and Allies. Like, it's like a big partnership, Riley. I mean, we're all in this together, right? We are in this whole group, and when I host these shows, when I bring in Breaking with Brent segments, I bring on guests, I bring on open mic sessions. Like, if there was something in important open mic sessions, we would basically put the audio, right? If there was something important that maybe I had a special guest that would drop into an open mic unexpectedly, boom, we could get the audio, and we could clip it, I could bring it, and if it was nothing worthwhile, then trash it, right? I mean, because sometimes, open mics and dogs, they don't all need to be put onto Neil's channel, but that's just a spot that we thought about putting it onto, and there's no right or wrong way in life. I mean, sure, I could have made a YouTube channel and popped onto mine, right?
Well, the way I was going to answer it, Brent, but I just wanted to hear your defense too. But the way I was going to answer it is because you're the host. And producing these segments takes a crap load of work, right? I mean, I can have a swear jar and say all kinds of bad words too, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, right? And you don't have the time and energy to do all that plus host and everything. So
yes, exactly.
So I volunteered to take all that on. So it is a partnership. You're right, and. We just kind of agreed that I would be the heavy lifter behind the scenes doing all the producing stuff, and you're free to do all the hosting stuff. I think that's a fair trade-off, right? So we're helping each other. We're helping each other off, right? So
and that's what it's about. It's about teamwork, right? Like, no matter what you do, whether it's in politics, whether it's on the street, whether it's at home or on these shows, it's teamwork, right? I'll give you a quick story before you guys cut yourselves there. The way I got involved in this crap is that 7 years ago now, I flukily ran into the person who is now my boss on a GO train. I just happened to know who he is. I saw him, me, loudmouth, except this time I had all my tattoos out and everything. He must have thought I was a real nut because I was half corked too. But I walked up to him and I was moving my stuff back and forth because I didn't have a truck or anything on the GO train. And we just talked, and that's how we developed that relationship, and that's how I work now, right? And to emphasize to people, you don't have to go to that level. Even if you have the ability to retweet Brent's stuff, or talk to Neil, or ask Bertie a question if you have to, to contribute in any way possible is what you got to do. To stay silent, if you have the ability to speak, that's what's not going to help.
Yeah. See, and one thing I've learned from the beginning, people who had these questions, how did this show come about? And if there's any questions regarding that, I'll get into that right now. So this goes back to about 2020, when the pandemic, they say it is, COVID-19, right? So I don't know, I guess what they say it started in 19, I don't know. But anyway, in 2020, I already have my Twitter account. I had it from 2012. I think it was before then, and I just never bothered. I'm I just didn't get around to it. So I put it on there, looking around and stuff. But when the pandemic happened, everybody, I was kind of going through Twitter, and I seen people needing help, asking for help, and that's kind of when it started. I looked at it and I thought, okay, I see about housing, transit, accessibility, and I started kind of drawing all these ideas in my mind. And I said to Sonia, what, do you have any ideas? Well, I don't know. I mean, look at your expertise. Like what are your interests? And then I leaned out to Neil and I said, hey, Neil and I mean, we've always communicated here and there, but we just had never met in person. And I reached out to Neil and I said, hey, I got an idea here. And he said, okay. And I don't know how the hell I'm going to go about it. I mean, everybody, I didn't know anything about Twitter Space. I went in there. I'm like, what does this do? What is Twitter Space? I mean, what are the functions? So I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, if I press this, what will happen? Oh crap! It just shut all down. I'm like, oh. So when I remember having my first guest on, I mean, it was, part of my language, but it was not so good, but it worked out well. Overall, I mean, we started talking more about it, and I said, well, why don't we progress going forward and see if we can get our first guest on and see how it goes. And then I knew I had something going at that time, and I said, well, I mean, how do I do all this? And he goes, well, I guess you're gonna need somebody to work on the back end. So I said, well, would you like to do that? And he goes, no, I'd love to do that. And I said, okay. So I said, you're the editor producer then, right? So that's how we became as a partnership to I'm doing the hosting, like Neil said, and then he's doing that. And then as the channel grew, right, I call it the show, right? Because everyone knew it as a show. And at first I was like, well, what do I call it as a show? It's really not a show. But then as politicians, Dan, they all started coming on and they all started calling it the show. So I thought, okay, so now, it's okay then. They're calling it the show, and then I'm calling it the show. Everyone starts calling it the show. It's the place to be. But as time went on, Twitter Space, the connectivity issues. It became a connectivity issue. Like people logging off. Like I was connecting, disconnecting, connecting, and that's further down the line. But I required more administration help beyond Neil, and that's how Evil Flightless Birdie came into the picture, where I reached out and I said, I need a secretary now, I need some more administration. So she said, okay, well, I'll do what I can do, and so now we tie it all together. As it grows even more, I'm sure there's probably going to be more opportunity for other people. For advocacy wise to join on with us, and we can explore all that stuff down the road, but I just want people to understand that that's kind of where things are at now, and we found overall to branch this off to a new platform to enhance technology going forward. I can say that, Neil, I mean, I'm excited that we're going to have a dialer system where people are going to be able to dial in. I wasn't going to say that now, but I'm going to say it. Is that
we actually just had a question about that, Brent? So it was perfect timing about where you guys are seeing things going. Again, the show has been on YouTube regularly, but
yes, it's always gone to YouTube, everybody, and I must have been reading the person's mind because, and that shows you how in tune I am with what I perceive what people want. They want to be able to communicate in. So I actually talked to a provider just the other day, FYI, and it can be done. It'd be very simplified, and the cost is low. And I said, as long as I don't make outgoing calls on that line, I'm actually good to go. It's unlimited incoming calls around the world. So I can have unlimited incoming calls. You're only allowed 100 calls outgoing, Brent. I go, oh, okay, well, that's fine. I can use my regular phone line and make outgoing calls because I get unlimited incoming outgoing. And so I can do it for $15 a month, $15 a month plus tax.
And then Brent says if he gets really popular, he'll have a bank of 8 phones.
Yeah. We're just joking about this. Imagine that. But here's the question: is how would I tie that in? Say I had 8 lines all lined up, and that would be in a sense, Dan. Here, this is a good quiz for you. So 8 lines. Imagine I had eight cell phones lined up. Okay. So in a sense, they all have call waiting. So now you got 16 lines in a sense. Okay. Yeah. Oh, there he is. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm thinking, okay, if it came down to that in the popularity, it grew, the demand became greater. So the one line calling in, I would have to figure out is one center number and then have it default off to each line. I think that's how that would work. Yeah, and then have it call forwarded over. So yeah, that'd be interesting, but
the other way you get the word of mouth out too, and I'll just do it now before you get going there. It's like, and I won't mention their names right now, but I'll you know me when I get off here, what's happening. To each and every politician and each and every advocate across the whole damn country, not just here in Toronto, in BC, in Calgary, in none of it. I don't care. Get a hold of these people, because I'm not a paid spokesperson. I'm not the first on here because I'm a god or anything. It's just the lived experiences that you guys are going to be hearing over the next few months and hopefully years to come with you guys. You know, is going to be so valuable in helping. This is the key, getting solutions. If you just want to yell, then go out and yell. I'll come join you one Saturday with a beer or something. But if you want actual solutions, get a hold of your city councilor, your MLA, whoever, and pay attention to this show. And who knows, reach out and ask to give your lived experience if you want to, because that's the only way we're all going to learn and be able to work together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Questions from the floor?
Uh-oh. My mom says, Dan, why are you swearing? Well, Mom, I'll tell you why I'm swearing.
Effective communication, Dan. It's effective communication. Sometimes.
At the right time, the right place. Exactly. But also, too, I want to point out to people, too, to all you people, and it'll be the last thing I'll say, and I'll let you do what you got to do there. To all you people that say, it doesn't work, calling them's not going to do nothing. Guess what? In about 7 hours, I'm going to be sitting at my desk, and guess what part of my job is, too? Hello, how can I help you? Counselor's office. Oh, you're a beep, 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 beep. I almost have to have a sensor on my phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what I want. I want people to reach out. I want you to help effect change. And if that means by reaching out and appearing on this show, please do it, because I can't wait to hear the stories.
And maybe a lot of people don't know this about me either, but I actually also worked as a public servant for the BC government for about 8 years. So that was fun. I started out with the BC Ministry of Environment. And then I moved. Oh, cool. I did that for about 6 or 7 years, and I moved over and I did the Ministry of Transportation for about 2 years. And
here in Ontario, we're screwed. Like, I can't really help a lot with the disability issues, not because of where I work or anything. It's just because of the simple fact that my MPP happens to be that crazy person that went on at the Ontario legislature and made fun of disabled people, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not one of these people. I'm not going to go waste my time with somebody that's sitting there going, all these people screaming, and she's making fun of disabled people. Like, you know, why am I going to waste my time? And then on top of that, my federal guy is Marco Mendocino. So what am I going to do?
And you know, people that want to know a little bit about what I've done for advocacy and like my learning from way back. I actually worked for the BC Ministry of Education, and I worked in a library. I worked in their library section, and I had to actually go through and alphabeticize to go through reading material. I had to go through audio tapes. It was actually very interesting, audio tapes of the actual books that people who maybe they couldn't really read, and they would just listen. They had all sorts of stuff. It was all mixed up, and I had to go through every single author, alphabeticize it all, and it was very time consuming. But I actually had spent a lot of time while I'm doing that, and I was just left alone. You go and do all this. I actually was so fast and for a while, but then the stuff was getting all mixed up. But I had to go through, and I got to read a lot of the stuff, and so I got to read about accessibility, and kind of educate myself on learning a lot of different things. So kind kind of a little bit of the insight on accessibility wise, and reading material, and it actually helped me as for myself as growth also, at the same time as I knew that I wanted to do something advocating going forward. I just, at that time, I didn't know what. I had gone to college. I had taken business administration. I took accounting. Counting was really good for me, but I couldn't really excel too far. It was a lot of numbers, small print. So, but I was good at a lot of it. A lot of business courses, economics 101, how the economy works, transportation, tourism and transportation sector. I excelled in the tourism sector. Didn't excel on the test so well. So unfortunately, that was one of my downfalls. One of them was a transportation sector where it was intermodal. I did really well with it, practical. Academically, unfortunately, no, I didn't do so well. It was more of a retaining that information, and I was not able to succeed in that. And I was, but for me, it was a learning curve. It was more, okay, I learned this, Brent, move on. It was a real down for me for a while, Dan. Like I thought, okay, like I'm a failure. And I sat down with the instructor and they said, Brent, this is just not your knack. I said, yeah, but so I got all my money back from tuition, right? But I thought, okay, there must be something. And so I had a lot of meetings and they said, you have a lot of what you want to give back. You want to have a lot. So I took more about a business administration and learning, and a course about learning about myself, and giving like a videography of myself in front of a class. So I took a class on that and learned about photo shooting, looking at the camera, having confidence in yourself, and looking at the camera, and then having the class looking back at it and analyzing who are you, and grading. And they're like, Brent, yeah, just look at the camera, and just like look straight ahead and be confident in what you want to say. And as years went on, I actually then did some public speaking, and I thought, no, I can't do this. And I thought, and my inner mind said, Brent, you can do this. You've learned this in college. You learned that you can just be yourself. People are going to respect you and like you for who you are, because you are who you are. And it always helped me go forward, because the instructor told me, you're going to find that in life going forward. There are going to be people that are going to say, no. But there's going to be a lot of people, in majority, are going to say, yeah, I believe who you are. You need to go forward. So I'm going to give you an example. Imagine, Dan, I had 10 cameras in front of me, from the TV stations, radio stations, all stuck right there. Cameras pointing like microphones, all like spotlights everywhere. And I'm on the news live at a legislature, sitting with our finance minister at the time in a meeting, and the reporters and everything else. And I was like, oh my God. And I thought, okay, Brent, you got to just be calm, say what you need to say. And I did. I said it, and they said, Brent, just don't blow up, don't curse, don't, as much as you may want to get upset and just say it. I said, don't, and I didn't, because they were all watching me, and they respected me for that. And now going forward, I actually stay in contact with some of them. And those same people were opposition in government. Now they're in power in government, and some of them have crossed floors. They still stay in contact with me. Isn't that funny, how it works?
Well,
that's the way you do it.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you've attracted a lot of politicians. It's been great. Like, yeah, a lot of VIPs have come to your channel, and I think and this new direction. There's going to be pushback about the new direction, but I think you kind of, even when you launched the Twitter Spaces, I think in your mind's eye, you always envisioned it as a talk show, right? I did. That's what it was. It was always a talk show format, always. And so now we're just kind of pushing it further in that direction, right? So we're not really changing anything. We're just making it more of the reality of what you wanted it to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember, and I can say it because, I had the guest on twice. Our former minister, Neil. And there's things that he still can't talk about, right? But him and I would be at odds, right? I'd be sitting in meetings with him, and I can't do that. Because why? Because the government would let him do it. He was frustrated. He wanted to make change, and that's his advocacy. Sonia and myself, we taught him, Dan and Neil and everybody else watching this. We taught him, and I'm not just taking credit. It was me that taught him, but I taught him from what I had observed within a community, and so he actually went there. He actually went there to see for himself. He actually grew up in Vancouver, downtown East Side, Neil. So he.
And I did know that about him.
Yeah. He gave a story about that, and so he learned a lot, like really quick. But he didn't know a lot about advocacy. He didn't know about lived experience. He thought, wow, like these are just people here. And then he actually became to realize that, we need to change the system. He tried, and like every advocate in the world, they want to try to change things for the better. Unfortunately, and that's why I say again, we need collectively across the country, we need to work. And how do we change? How do we make these changes happen? What is stopping the changes to happen is what we need to get that part fixed. And once we get that part fixed, everything can get fixed. So if there's stakeholders involved, if there's gatekeepers involved, we need to work with it all. And as you say, hey, we need to see this change happen to better people's lives. Because it can be done. And I learned a lot from the other minister. I really did. And I so love having him on the show because he had so much to give and so much to talk about. And as much as people say, oh, the darn minister, who's in charge of that ministry now? Because whoever gets in charge, nothing changes. It's not the person, people. And I want everybody to understand that. It's not the person.
It's always the system. Policy.
It's the policy. It's the system. And that's what needs to be changed. And that's why we advocate to change it. And I see so many times on Twitter, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. And again, we need to go to city council. You go and you talk to them at that level. And that's what I've learned with advocacy. I've learned that, and Dan, you're right again. You need to start, and you need to get out there and actually say that because, who said that one day? And I don't mean to, sorry, I used to be cool. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you're right on that, Lori. She's come on the Twitter space all the time, and I welcome you to join in one day, and I'll have you as a guest if you want, and you don't have to be on camera if you don't want. You could just be audio. But if you want video, that's fine too. I welcome you. But she said the same thing. Like Dan will say the same thing. You can stand on the rooftop. I still remember that one line she said, Brent, people can stand on the rooftop and they can yell out there to the void. But how is that gonna change anything? Or like what you mentioned, Dan, like you can run around in a circle and sing and carry on. But yeah, there goes Dan. I love that. What
special effects.
Yeah, special effects.
I'll say
breaking with Brent.
I'll say to you in closing too, right? And I'm not just blowing smoke up her butt, and I don't need to borrow money or anything, Ma, so don't worry. But I had a great family. It was a typical the 70s, 80s kid, single mother with 3 boys on her own. My dad supported us and stuff financially and stuff. But she basically did the day-to-day duties. And, my whole family basically was great to me. I personally just went off into left field somewhere. Call it what you want. That's another show for another day because it's already 10:30 and poor Neil's going to kick our butt. But yeah, it's the way I get things done, right? Like just reach out, speak out, and talk the truth. Don't fight with each other. Reach out, speak out, talk the truth. And like Brent said, contact him and join in on the show. And each and every person listening to that has listened and such, thanks. And I'm definitely going to be reaching out to the people that I know and let them know that, hey, there's this platform there and go use it, right? Nobody knew who the hell Dan was until a couple of years ago when Dan started screaming a bunch of obscenities at City Hall. And then even just up until last March, I actually went to City Hall. You can find it online somewhere. I think it was March 25th, but I went to City Hall, gave a deputation. I looked at all the city council. I was the second guy to give a deputation since COVID came back. I looked at all the councillors. I held up a scroll that I had from Doug Ford. And I said, do you guys want proof that, I don't remember the words, but something like, you guys want proof that somebody wants to do something? I ripped it up in 4 pieces and shot it in the garbage can at City Hall. Not a single one of them opened their mouth to me because I was acting like a jack, a guy, a donkey. 6, 7 months later, where am I? So anything's possible. Just reach out for anything you have to do and never give up. Because if a 45-year-old dude that has never, I hate to do this because people hate when I do it, but it's just so that people can get the reality of it, right? I was an effing loser before. I did everything bad under the sun except for like murder and other bad things that I won't mention. But like my stuff was all due to addiction, right? I would steal to feed my addiction. And it's not excuses, just giving you the reality. I would steal from my addictions. I like if I woke up in the morning and I didn't have a 12-pack, like get the hell out of my way. You know what I mean? Like But I've learned over the years from my family, who I'm thankful for, the people that I've met within the work that I do, but most of all, like that time that I spent on the streets, I wasn't in a park. I was in temporary homes. I was in every shelter in Toronto except for the Good Shepherd. I could name them all. You know, so I learned from those experiences, and there's plenty other people out there doing the same thing. They just need that helping, that hand up, not a hand out.
Yeah, it's so important. You know, it's so important just to stay, try to stay as focused and try to be optimistic, right? Because I know if someone will say to, what I'm saying now, they're going to say, well, that's easier for you to say there, Brent, being optimistic. But it's true. Like, you have to try to be as optimistic as you can because, I mean, we're doing what we can out here as advocates, trying to make things better. And I think if all the advocates and the people who can try to make the change happen, we can try to all work together in our own way and try to make a positive change. And
hug each other, man. Just hug each other.
Exactly. And know that people are there that do care. Yeah, because knowing that people care, it really gives that inspiration to not give up hope.
Now, if I hang up from this and go to the channel, does that mess you guys up, or are you good to go?
Let's find out. Let's do our first test.
I'm going to sign off. Again, thank you everybody for listening tonight, and reach out to Brent and reach out to your local officials because you never know what you can get done. Just believe and reach out. I did it. Anybody can do it.
Yeah, and before you sign off, Dan, I mean, in case you do get disconnected here, I just want to thank you for coming on, and it's a pleasure for you doing this, and we'll do this again. We'll definitely for sure soon.
And I apologize. I apologize for the glitches. We honestly did troubleshoot. We did a lot of tests. And,
yes,
I'm on a Samsung Android. I'm surprised it wasn't my glitch.
We did a lot of tests, and it never did this until now. So.
Yeah. No, I'm glad to have done it. Don't even worry about that stuff. I'm just genuinely, really, like I said, I'm sorry to repeat it, but I'm just really looking forward to hearing all the stories because collectively, that's how it's going to get done.
Yeah, all the stories. I mean, lived experience stories, and keep on bringing them in, and eventually, like, I'll get a dedicated line just for people calling in. I want to get another line just for the listeners' line, so people can leave messages and like kind of the feedback line. I don't know what we want to call it. We'll figure that out. But yeah, there's lots of opportunity. If you're on board, come and join us and subscribe to Neil Matheson 1 on YouTube.
Actually, it's just Neil Matheson on YouTube.
Is it Neil Matheson? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm Neil Matheson on Twitter, but it's just,
on Twitter. Sorry,
it's just Neil Matheson on YouTube.
But yeah, just come and subscribe to Neil Matheson's YouTube channel, because that's where you're going to get all these lived experience stories, and you're going to get Breaking with Brent if you love those. If you love the guests that come on, you're going to hear Dan and I and Neil, and you're going to hear this latest episode.
And so the thing is, Brent, there's already this segment here. It's going to be the 107th episode of Canadians
so,
with disabilities. So
you're missing
Dan,
out.
You're 107. So there's
you're 107.
There's 106 videos already of just the Canadian with Disabilities in Allies, and
you're looking young, Dan, for 107.
Yeah, and there's 170 videos altogether. Like if you include all the Breaking with Brents, so there's a crap load of content on there, people. If you haven't seen it already, there's 170 videos to go watch. Right?
Yeah, there you go.
A huge backlog of stuff.
And Brent, don't wish that on me, buddy. I have a 95-year-old grandmother that's still alive. I don't want to live to 107, so you can keep it.
yeah. But and please subscribe to Dan's. Dan's YouTube also.
But don't watch any videos until after today because you might be. Yeah, there's a curse warning. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and it's so important to stay on subscribe because you're going to miss out on important content that could help you in your journeys going forward with advocacy. Maybe things that you thought about that you hadn't really you could miss or whatever, right? So I don't want you to miss out. I don't want you to miss out on the shows, right? Because this is where it's going to get broadcasted from. Like right to here. I mean, and just so people know, it's always gone to YouTube. Like the shows have always gone to YouTube. Nothing's changed. It's the platform that we've launched it from here that I'm on right now, and that's the where it's going from. So it's awesome. And having Dan on here as my first guest of 2023 has been superb. Few glitches at the beginning here, technical stuff, but Dan just did the spin around.
Yeah.
There we are. See, and there he is. Whoa.
And for anybody that missed the awesome music at the beginning, I'm just gonna play a little bit of the music at the beginning because I think some people might have missed it. Ready?
Yeah.
We're gonna try that again. Oh, let's go. See, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that, and that's a really good intro.
And just for people watching, these are going to be obviously it's live, so it's going to be on there right away. Or are you doing some little Tweedledum?
I'm just going to leave it up there. Yeah, I'll probably delete the one that was a failed attempt. And I'm going to add. This second one doesn't have it doesn't have a description up there yet because we were kind of scrambling to get this one and the second one going. So I have to add a text description on this one, but other than that, I'm just going to leave it as is.
Perfect.
So yeah.
So the link that's there is the link that's there, Dan. So you can send it to anyone that's needed before Neil gets to it in the morning.
Yeah.
I'll check it out as soon as we get off. And again, I appreciate all three of you and each and every other person that's contributed to this, and each and every person that's contributed to my life. Like my mom, I might need money next week, so. My mom, my brothers, my sister, all my family and stuff. So thank you to you guys. And please, you guys, reach out to Brent because these guys genuinely are some of the best people that you're going to get to explain yourself to and to get some help from and some knowledge.
And we can network, help you network to the right, hopefully to the right appropriate people that can actually help. If I don't have the answers, Neil may, or we've got different people that we can connect you to, right? So there is help out there. Please reach out. And yeah, like with that being said, boobly bits. I mean, we're still gonna want Michael. We still want to get you on one day.
We do want to get Michael Bublé on.
Yeah, we want.
Tell him to expect a message in about 30 minutes, there, Michael. Don't worry, buddy.
Well, I've already got his publicist saying that he's to check back with him in June or so. So I'm going to be doing that for sure.
Perfect.
If he comes on and does that, I will sing that "I Haven't Missed You Yet" song or whatever with him in a chicken suit.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go, Michael.
Let's go. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And then, if you want to catch up with the Breaking with Brent segments, stay tuned, subscribe, and you'll see more upcoming episodes going forward. And this year's going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome, and looking forward, Dan. We'll do a follow-up and have you on many times going forward. And stay tuned for any other announcements with this channel and other enhancements.
Yeah, it was fun.
This is awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys have a good one. I'll sign off, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Dan.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye. So he's just frozen in time. So see, he can just stay up there like that. Or I can try to go to a different Skype window. Let's try this. Oh, see, now your window is messed up again, so I have to change you again.
Oh, jeez.
I swear I didn't do any of this. It's not my fault, Brent. It's not my fault.
Neil, it is
It's
not
okay.
you. It is not you. You have all of our support. These
were all perfect before.
I know they were perfect. They were pixel perfect. Just so the audience is aware, they were pixel perfect. Neil had this down, and this is just the magic of producing that we're seeing live here.
Yeah, and with the first show of the year, I mean.
See, I didn't do that right now. It just glitched your window, and I didn't touch it. It just glitched on its own.
It has glitches.
I'm not doing that,
but it's all good, and it's just so exciting to have our first guest on is Dan, just talking about his lived experience of what he's gone through in his life, and people got to hear a little bit of blurb of what things that the journeys I've gone through on advocacy, and one day maybe I will actually give a kind of a little rundown of me on a segment. Hey, I did that with Mr. Richmond before. Yeah, that was fun. Hey, that was great. That was a great segment. That should have been like a Breaking with Brent segment there. But yeah, anyone who loves watching those ones, there's gonna be upcoming Break with Brent.
I love watching them, Brent. Never mind. Never mind anybody else. I love watching them.
Well, I enjoy doing it, like we were saying before, because I try to put them into perspective of what I go through, the adventures, but I try to put a little spin with it, with comedy, because life's I can't always be so serious on things, and even when I have guests on, I like to joke around with them at the same time too, because life's too short. I mean, you got to enjoy life, and at the same time get to the point of what it's about, but have fun, and I'm serious about people who do need to reach out. I don't have the answers, and I don't want to proclaim that I have the answers for everything, or I advocate on behalf of everybody else, because that's not what it's about. Exactly what Dan said, the same thing. I'm not here to advocate for every single, like I have a solution for everything, because I don't. I can be wrong on a lot of things, and we can all agree sometimes of opinionated of different things, of agree to disagree. I learned from other people too. I learned from Neil. I learned from Evil Flightless Birdie. I learned from Sonia. I learned from Dan. Previous guests, even Patricia. I learned from you on about basic income. You're like a walking book of knowledge if you're watching this. And one day, I'll have you on as a as a guest if you would like to have the floor, for sure. I learned from so many people, and I don't want to name different people and put them on the spot going, oh, hey, he said my name. Mm-hmm. But I just want everybody to understand and know that I'm here for you to talk to, and come on as a guest. I love hearing from lived experience stories. I love to hear different angles on things. Even Patrick. Yeah, hey, Sir Patrick, eh?
We should let people know that tonight we're doing this on Skype, and again, all these glitchy cameras, I don't know what's going on because they were set properly, but we're also going to be doing Zoom as well for people that prefer that. We're still doing a lot of tests behind the scenes. We've done so many tests, and the cameras didn't do this, but but yeah, we're just going to continue to test the two platforms, both Skype and Zoom. And so whoever has a preference, whatever your guest, if one of your guests has a preference for Zoom, we'll do Zoom. If one of your guests has a preference for Skype, we'll do Skype. And we'll continually test these platforms and make sure they're less and less glitchy as we go forward. So.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Whoever likes to come on to whatever platform, and we can do either one. And like Neil mentioned, it's true. Like, we're gonna keep testing either one. And preference, just you let us know. And you're the guest, you're the number one, and you're to come on, and we'll have some great time, great chats, and talk about the issues that need to be advocated about. And that's what it's about, is being as a community and working together and finding a solution to the problem. And how do we conquer that problem, whatever it may be? Is it about accessibility? Is it about tiny homes? Is it about straws? I mean, remember the straws? So I mean, how do we fix these problems? Is it environment? Well, I haven't really had anyone on about too much on the show about environment stuff.
There was one or two.
There was
past
one, but like, not like too major degree on it, but in the future, I welcome people to come on and talk about.
We've had Mike Morris, and he's green.
Yeah, exactly. He's green. Yeah. And Sonia First Know and Adam Olson from BC. They're green. Yeah. And I had the green, the Green Party, and it was a party because it was great to have them on. And
it was.
Party, Green Party. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a party. And I mean, and they are a party, but it was great times because just the approachable to talk to, and they got it. They get it. And about the transportation, we need to really focus on about accessibility. I mean, not just in BC, because that's where we are, Neil, but across the country, and we can figure out a better solution getting people to and from their communities, and it can be done. I mean, in Ontario, like about the Greenbelt. That's huge, right? We need to not be expanding and tearing up farmland to put more highways in. Not a good idea, right?
Probably I'm just hoping that this new format will actually encourage more VIPs and politicians to come on, because like we've said before, we've kind of alluded to before, I think Twitter Spaces has had its day in the sun. And the sheen has come off of Twitter Spaces, and I think even a lot of the VIPs and politicians and such that still go to Twitter Spaces is starting to realize maybe I should get out while the getting's good, and certainly we made that decision. So hopefully our new direction will actually inspire confidence from the VIPs and politicians and what have you, and they'll be encouraged at the new direction and want to come on the show and feel safe, that they're not going to be let down by the technology, for one, because there were so many technical glitches on Twitter Spaces. I said before, that I would be massaging audio for like 3 or 4 hours because the audio was so bad. Like, I would have to fix the audio for 3 or 4 hours, like cutting it and massaging it and doing all kinds of stuff to it just to make it sound half decent.
I remember some of the episodes where there was the one in particular where I remember you said, I can't even use this. I can't even use this audio. And then I think it was you were able to sacrifice a little bit of it, but it was very unfortunate. And that came down to the technology of the glitchiness. And I thought, oh no, and that was a trend that seemed to keep happening when there was more and more people kept coming in. And it's we felt that there was more of a steady platform that could be used that would be better. It was a decision that we made, and I can maybe Neil can maybe elaborate more on that. But it was a decision that can be made that was made that we felt that going forward was the best for everybody.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, even so, like you've alluded to, the reason for the switch, first and foremost, I think, was, it falls more in line with your original vision with the show to begin with. Anyway, you launched the Twitter Spaces as kind of a talk show format, and yes, it involved we had a big group of people that were all kind of participating together, and that was kind of cool. That was kind of nice. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think you really wanted this whole thing to be kind of a talk show thing, and we're kind of pushing that more in that direction. And again, I think I hope that there are going to be more people that feel confident in the direction. I mean, again, just to name one example, Peter Julian. I know he had a bad experience on your Twitter space, but that was like 100% a technical glitch. I mean, it wasn't your fault what happened there, but it was just a technical glitch, and he got frustrated and left and didn't feel good about things. But I mean, it was 100% like a Twitter thing, and
it locked up. Yeah.
And we just want to make sure that all the guests feel confident in this new platform.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. Like, a lot of people would be used to like a gathering, like a group gathering with the guest on, and we felt that because of the technical glitches going with it kind of kept escalating. People would be disconnecting, meaning the people of the guests, like they would be losing connection.
The guests would be disconnecting, yeah.
And I would get, they would be getting so frustrated. They'd be sending Neo messages, me messages. I think even Evo Flightless Birdie, I think at times was getting messages. Not so much her, but it was more you and me would be getting messages from the guests going, help, help. Then they couldn't connect back on. So they would end up having to call in to the show. Like, I would finally get them say, here, you know what, just call in. And the audio quality was superb. It was well, and 100%.
not just they would call in, but they would be using platforms that you're also using yourself. Zoom, for example. Like, there were other things being used that are just being continued to be used. To the exclusion of Twitter, sadly. But I mean, it was a move, made for the right reasons.
Yeah, and there was a couple guests who had brought that, to my attention, said, well, maybe could I connect through that? And I said, well, we haven't even really explored that yet. There will be discussions, and now here we are, right?
Well, and again, the nice thing about YouTube, I like some of the pushback we've been receiving is like, because everybody's like infatuated with your Twitter Spaces still, but the thing is that like everybody's saying, well, it was so easy to connect. It's just one link, right? Well, YouTube is one link too, and so is Zoom. Like Zoom is a link. YouTube is a link. Skype is one link, and all three of those things don't require any additional software to install. You don't even have to have an account. Like, the account part is optional totally for both YouTube and Zoom and Skype, right? So the barrier for entry is nothing. And like with Twitter Spaces, there was so many guests that were saying, well, I want to connect on my PC, and it's like, sorry, you can't do that. I want to connect on my Chromebook. Oh, sorry, you can't do that. And at least with YouTube, like, everybody's got a smart TV these days. So like, bare minimum, people can watch on their smart TVs, And
that was a common thread or theme that I was getting from a lot of people. I would say about at least 85% of the time that people would say, well, the ones that weren't familiar with Twitter Space were saying, well, how do I connect? what if I need that device? Like I need that device for somebody's going to be at my front door calling. They need to be buzzed in. Well, if you're using that device to call into Twitter Space, now they can't even they can't take a emergency call that they were waiting for. And there was a couple situations, right? So different devices that Apple wouldn't support, or maybe their device wasn't strong enough, they couldn't use it on for Twitter Space. There was so many reasons. So people would call in the show, and the sound quality was superb. It made it so much easier for you, Neil, when you had to record the audio. There was so many variables. I think there was one guest, I'm not going to mention names, but it took that person a half an hour.
Oh yeah.
to connect on.
And actually, that didn't just happen one time. There was actually a few times that happened.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 20 minutes to 25 minutes just connecting to the show, and I mean, we had glitches tonight, but I mean, it still pales in comparison to what the kind of glitches we had on Twitter Spaces. And I can tell you, once I post this thing up, it's just going to be posted up in like a couple seconds once we hit stop streaming. And I'm not going to have to do 4 hours of massaging the audio afterwards,
Oh,
so
totally.
That's, one big thing off my plate. So that's nice.
And one thing that I want people to understand that, like, they were so used to the Twitter Space, right? The group interaction with the guests. I get it. I know that people are going to be upset with our new format, and some people, but there's a lot of people that are actually very excited already. There are lots. I mean, they're reaching
Dan being
out,
one of
right?
them.
Yeah, Dan's being one, but there are, I think it's awesome. And it's just going to take time to get used to it. The formats can be different because they're not going to have a group function where they can all participate with the guest. Okay, so it'd be more dialing in, where you're calling in. It's like you're calling into a radio station, right?
It's old school, right? It's old school. We're embracing old school, where you have to go to a phone and actually call in.
You're calling in, and you're gonna call in, and you're gonna be on a queue, right? And you're waiting to speak with the guest, or myself, and it is gonna be some growing pains for some, and I mean, that's just part of life, right? I mean, new adventures going forward, and for sure, Neil. Like, we're gonna get pushback in some cases, but I don't think a lot of pushback. I think the ones that really want to say, hey, this is a great idea. I love this idea. Yeah, I mean, awesome. Like, more power to you. Go for it, right? Because this is what we're doing anyway.
And we're just past the 2-hour mark, so I think we should finish off. Yeah. But you know what? I love the music so much. I'm going to play the music. I'm going to play the whole 50-second out as our outro. So for everybody that was listening tonight, we appreciate your patience, and I'm again sorry for the glitchy cameras and stuff like that, but we'll work on them. They were working perfectly before tonight, so I have to obviously go back and fix them again. We'll see, but it's been a good show.
It has been a fabulous show, and I hope everyone will just tune in and go to Neil Matheson's YouTube web site there and subscribe, and that's what you do. And once you subscribe, you'll get notifications on when the shows come up, and Breaking with Brent segments, you name it. And also go to Dan Tay's YouTube channel, subscribe to his too.
And like I said, there's already 107 videos of just the Canadians with disability stuff, and if you include the other videos, it's up to 170 now. So there's lots of content up there already.
Absolutely. There you go. Now, on a rainy day, you can actually just tune in and watch. And listen.
Watch all the Breaking with Brent. See what you've been missing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the outro.
Yep.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.